Hi everyone, it's Laura. Welcome back. If you all are new here, I am coming to you from Northern Connecticut, Zone 6, and it is currently mid-April, so we are still a few weeks out from our average last frost date, but the garden is starting to look beautiful. Things are emerging, things are starting to bloom. So let's have a look around the backyard. I may or may not do a front tour for April. I'm not sure. The garden in the front is kind of like a work in progress. It's not a whole lot to look at right now. Hopefully in a few weeks for the May tour, it will be looking a lot better. So be sure to stick around for that. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new. So let's just start up here in the front with what I am calling my perennial herb garden right now. I have a reblooming lilac in here that is just about to bloom, maybe another week or two, but they are about to pop. Kind of hard to see a little bit. I moved this from a spot up front to back here so I could enjoy it. This is one of my favorite shrubs that I have in the garden, and it just smells absolutely amazing. And then I have a couple of herbs in here already. I have an oregano here that is spreading gorgeously. I know I need to probably keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't spread too much, but right now I love it. And then I have a sage here. This is a purple sage that is just starting to put on some new growth. And I have a rosemary here that survived over the winter for me. So half of it did die, but this half is looking pretty decent, pretty green. So I am thrilled with that. And then I decided to put a bunch of lavender in here. So I started a bunch of English lavender from seed this year, and I put a bunch of the seedlings in here. They may or may not become perennial for me. Sometimes lavender is iffy in our zone, but really I just love the look and the smell of lavender. And if you know me, I like to have good smelling things close to the house. So that's what this is for. And then I have my Alberta spruce here that I tried to topiary. If you've been with the channel for a while, I did this a couple years ago. Didn't go so well, wasn't in the right spot. It's bouncing back, so she's living her best life right now. And then if we swing over to the other side of this area, I know it doesn't look like much right now, but there's actually a ton of seedlings and things emerging in here. I actually planted a bunch of bulbs this year, and I didn't mark them, so I'm not 100% sure what's coming up where, but I believe the ones that are coming up in here are allium. And in the front of this bed, I just have some pansy seedlings, and I have a bunch of alyssum seedlings as well. This alyssum is royal carpet, so they'll have like purple and white flowers. And the darker foliage plant that you're seeing is penstemon. And then the frilly little guy that you're seeing is Amazing Gray Poppy from Baker Creek. I started these from seed as well. And the last thing that is coming up in this bed is echinacea. I started a ton of echinacea last year from seed, and they really didn't grow very much. I think they were busy building roots, and now they are starting to emerge this year. So I'm super happy about that. And you can see here, I do have a teeny tiny bloom on some of my alyssum. These were the first things to bloom for me from seed this year. And if you are wondering why I have planted a bunch of seedlings when we are still several weeks out from our average last frost, there are a bunch of reasons for this. First of all, most of them are cold hardy down to approximately 24, even lower, some of them. So that's one of the reasons. The second reason is that I really like to push things. We are in zone 6 here, but we are crossing into zone 7. The past several years, our average last frost just gets earlier and earlier, and I keep really good track of the weather, so I know if something's going to be looking dangerous and like I need to protect it. So that's really what's going on here. And if you have more questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I'm happy to talk about this. I know that some people can get kind of opinionated when it comes to gardening stuff. So let's try to keep it nice. But I am happy to have a discussion as far as planting things when it's still pretty cold out. So anyway, I did end up planting that Jacob's ladder over here. I think I showed this in my last video. I picked up this gorgeous Jacob's ladder, Heaven Sent from Proven Winners from Lowe's last week. They just started to put a bunch of stuff out. And I think this is just the perfect spot for it. So I'm loving it right here. And then over on my little mini porch here, I have, in this purple bucket, I think I just overdid it, you guys. I have a bunch of tulips coming up. You can see that. I did plant an English daisy in the middle of that. And then I have some alyssum seedlings in here. There may be a couple pansy seedlings in here as well. I've got some ivy coming out of the side, you can see. This is, yeah, it's pretty packed in here. But to be fair, like I said, completely forgot about where I planted all the bulbs. So this is way more than I thought was going to come up in this particular container. And then in this little terracotta pot, I had a little iron like pumpkin thing on the top. But then I noticed that there were some what appears to be crocus bulbs emerging from this little container where I planted a bunch of alyssum. So I guess I forgot about those as well. You guys, I really need to mark my plants. Up here in this window basket, I have a couple of things. I still have an ivy in here, and I have some pansy seedlings again. Jump scare. That's one of my cats, Sir Pounce. He's giving actually pretty calm energy right now for orange cat, if you are familiar. But I also got this gorgeous columbine. I picked this up from Lowe's this last week, and I am in love with it. Do you guys like columbine? Let me know in the comments how you feel about columbine. I love it. I think it has like an alien quality to it that I just absolutely love. I love the coloring of it. I love the foliage. I love everything about columbine. And I like the name Aquilegia. Columbine, Aquilegia, it reminds me of Christina Aguilera. And then over on the porch, I just have a ton of seedlings still. These are just the ones that I am currently in the process of hardening off. I do have a bunch more still in the greenhouse, like tomatoes and peppers, hotter things. But out here, I've got some salvia. I've got, what else? I got some nigella. I have some things in containers still. Up in this hanging basket, I have just an alyssum, and then I think I have a couple of little alyssum seedlings as well. And as I was filming this, I spotted this little spider on my girl here, but that's okay. We will remain calm. I have a terrible arachnophobia, but I really have tried to get over that in the past, 10 years since I've lived here. Because the spiders are out of their minds. The size of some of these things, I've never seen anything like it. It's crazy. And in this other hanging basket, I have these gorgeous combination of 3 different kinds of pansies or violas. Here we go again with that. I cannot get them straight, but it's either one or the other. These are from the Garden Barn in Vernon, Connecticut. If you guys are from around here and you haven't been there, you need to check that place out. They have beautiful plants. So let's come around now to the fairy garden area. And the first thing I have here is a ruby slippers hydrangea that is just starting to put some green out on the ends here. I was a little bit scared. I get scared every year that this is dead, but it's just a little bit later to emerge than the other hydrangeas. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a oak leaf hydrangea. It has beautiful fall coloring that turns really, really red. The foliage in the fall is just gorgeous, and I love it so much. I've been trying to fill this fairy garden area with a lot of low growing plants. I have some crocus bulbs in here. These are from Holland Bulbs, and these are called Ruby Giant. They don't look very giant, but they're adorable. And this is a gorgeous creeping thyme. I picked this up from Hart's Nursery in Brooklyn, Connecticut, and I love it. These are not that easy to find, I feel like. People always say creeping thyme makes a great ground cover. It's perennial, but I can never find it. But they had like 6 of these in this size. I believe it was $13, and I was going to split it up, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it because it's just so gorgeous. So I'm just going to leave it here. I'm going to let it fill in quite a bit. I do need to put one other thing in this area though. And on the other side of the path and kind of all around, I have a lot of creeping phlox as well. There's one little bloom that's starting. These will probably start blooming in about a week or 2. And then they'll look so beautiful. I love creeping phlox. I also have some seedlings just popped in here as well. A few just little pansies. And I think I have some alyssum in here as well. And then I got a little blue spruce sedum, which should provide another nice little ground cover. And I love the way that looks. And then I just have like a few little miniature trees in here. And a bunch of little ornaments. I have my little troll that I did in a couple videos ago. And then we have this gorgeous girl. This is definitely top 10 plants for me. This is a pulmonaria, also known as a lungwort. And it's just beautiful. I love the polka dotted foliage, and I love the color of the blooms. They're like a bluish purple and a pink. They bloom kind of together. It's amazing. And if you don't have a pulmonaria, you should. They are pretty shade tolerant as well. So just a great addition to the garden. And then the other half of this garden bed is what I call my witch's garden. So in here, there's a bunch of ground covers as well. So I have got some ajuga in here. And this ajuga was literally just growing in our yard. And I pulled some of the pieces out and I planted them in the garden last year. And they have taken over quite a bit. I know that this is a kind of a crazy spreader. So I need to tame it a bit. I also have some snapdragon seedlings in here. That's the darker foliage little things that you see. They are, they're alive. They made it through some pretty rough nights. So they're alive, and that's good enough for me. They will start to bounce back in a few weeks and start to put on some new growth, and I am perfectly happy with that. The bulbs that are emerging over here are tulips. I am not 100% sure which ones they are. I got a purple one and a black one. So it'll be like a surprise. But this one right here is starting, and it looks kind of purple. I mean, it looks purple, right? So maybe in a couple days I'll know. Well, I guess I know it's purple. And then I do have a couple little hardy geraniums planted in here as well. And the pop of pinkish red is a heuchera. And as we come through this rustic arbor here to the purple shed garden, I just planted a bunch of stuff in here. This is pretty shady once the trees start to leaf out. But I did put some autumn joy sedum in here. I have so many. So whatever. We'll just see how they do. I just have so many, and we needed to fill some space here. I've got a hydrangea on either side. There are daffodils coming up in here. I actually moved a bunch of bulbs from the front yard last year because we have daffodils in the front. I moved them out to the shade garden, but they are still growing in the front this year. So obviously I missed some. And then this here is another hardy geranium. I have one of these in the front of each corner of the beds here. But the daffodils are looking gorgeous and the hydrangea is leafing out. Everything is looking so springy. And now we're going to swing around to the moon garden, which is not that filled in right now. There's a few changes I want to make to it, but I think it's going to look really beautiful in the summertime. I do have this little shrub here is a crimson 9-bark that I picked up at the end of the season last year, and it is starting to leaf out, and I'm excited about this one because, you know, when you pick something up at the end of the season, you don't really get to enjoy it for very long. So I'm excited to see that. I have some lamium in the moon garden that I'm going to move out. It's too sunny over here, and the lamium last year just kind of got fried. You can see it's not very happy there. That's the ground cover. And then the stuff that looks like grass, those are dianthus, and that is, it's spooky dianthus, which can bloom pink or white. I grew them from seed last year, and then I just picked the ones that were white, and I put them in the moon garden. So I am not 100% sure if they will still bloom white or if they will bloom white and pink. I guess I'll find out. There's another penstemon over here. That's the dark foliage. And another blue star juniper. The little tree is a cryptomeria. And I don't have anything planted in the white container yet. I do have some moonflower that I'm growing from seed. So I think I'm going to plant that up on that trellis this year. I also have a hydrangea on either side of the little wooden plank. They're white hydrangeas. I purchased them like 3 years ago, right after Mother's Day. You know how they have those greenhouse grown hydrangeas, whatever. These were $1 each. They're white blooming, and when I got them, I thought they would just die. Everyone said like they're just good for annuals. Well, I overwintered them in the greenhouse without any sort of heat or anything, but then I planted them out early in the spring, and they were absolutely fine last year, and they are leafing out this year. So I think they are not an annual. They have successfully acclimated. So that's super exciting. The sprouts that are coming up over there are white blooming echinacea that I started from seed last year. So again, I don't know if they'll bloom this year. I think they will because they are looking pretty good so far. And they didn't bloom last year, and I'm thinking second year, yeah, they'll bloom probably. And then my gorgeous ericas or heathers. These are actually ericas, but I know that heathers and ericas are very, very similar. I picked these up, I think, 2 years ago, and they were iffy for our zone. They have done just fine for me, and actually they have been blooming for so long. Honestly, they've probably been blooming for like 2 months. They started blooming a long time ago, and they just keep on, and they're evergreen, and I love them. They're supposed to get like 2 by 2, so they're not quite full grown, but I really want more, and they do come in a white bloom as well, so I would love to get some of those. This is a goat's beard. Again, I picked this one up at the end of the season, so I'm excited to see that one this year. The hostas, I don't even really want to talk about them. I hate them. We have a terrible slug problem, and I don't really want to get into it. But I slowly phasing out the hostas, I think. The bulbs that are coming up over here are alliums. And then I mostly just have shrubs over here. So there's a dappled willow over here. There's an azalea over here. I've got some heuchera that I moved over here as well. I'm trying to kind of fill in this area this year. That hosta there, I don't even think I noticed. So I'm going to probably pull that out. It's blocking the view of my gorgeous hellebore. So this hellebore I picked up at the Connecticut Flower and Garden Show. I don't know the variety of it. I'm sorry. That's the red blooming plant. And next to it is another Jacob's Ladder. Also a Heaven Sent from Proven Winners. And as it was emerging, the foliage was like a reddish, and it was just so gorgeous. It hasn't quite bloomed yet, but it will soon. There's a little heuchera here, and behind it is another Jacob's Ladder. This is a different one from Monrovia, and it has a variegated foliage, and I love it. It's very pretty and very different from the other one. And behind it, I just have a little boxwood, and the white blooming plant is a pieris. We will take another look at that in a second, but up here I have this gorgeous primrose that I just picked up from Lowe's as well. If you saw my last video, I talked about it already. It has gorgeous color that's like a blackish red. And then I have some more hellebores coming up behind it. I don't know if these will bloom. They were new to me last year, so we'll just see. But here's another look at that Pieris japonica. This is a gorgeous shrub. It's evergreen, and it blooms these gorgeous bell flowers. It's so pretty. I love that shrub. And I know I've mentioned this a couple times, but this is like currently my favorite area of the garden. I just think it looks so pretty right now. Okay, and let's swing back up to the front. I'll give you another look at this area. I've got some irises coming up in here and some hydrangeas starting to leaf out, but I'd really like to add some more perennials in here. This is kind of like a part shade area. Here is my in progress pumpkin tunnel. If you've been following the channel for a while, this is a work in progress. It's a huge project. I still need to get some more cattle panels to finish off the sides, but this is gonna hold like medium-sized pumpkins, not big ones, but like your 8-pounders, you know. And next to it, I'm going to have my corn planted in that little spot there. This is an elderberry that is starting to leaf out. And then I have a lemon thread cypress and a boxwood over here. I have quite a few lilac shrubs as well. And I have a couple little rhododendrons. They are super tiny. These were kind of like rescues. They were really damaged by deer. They were down to just a couple leaves, so I moved them from the front, and now they're starting to grow a little bit better. We do have a lot of deer, but they don't generally come in the backyard. I don't know that it's because of the fence. My theory is that it's just because I have so much stuff. Deer don't really like obstacles. So even if they were to jump into the backyard, there are rocks everywhere, there are garden ornaments everywhere, there are bushes everywhere. They just don't really like traversing that kind of stuff. So the backyard is pretty safe from them. These forsythias over here are going to go this year, along with most of the other ones as well. I just can't put up with them anymore. I do have some alliums coming up back here as well. I believe they're alliums. Actually, I'm not 100% sure. And the ferny foliage that you're seeing is yarrow. I have quite a lot of yarrow. I've moved most of it to the front, but I do have a patch back here. And then I have planted a bunch of seedlings in here. There's two different things. I have Bachelors Buttons in here. And then I also have poppies. Now the poppies, as you can see, they didn't take the transplant that well. I thought they were hardened off. But as you can see, they are a little bit sunburned. The foliage that's in the middle is still okay. So I'm pretty sure that they're going to bounce back just fine. But poppies in general don't really like to be transplanted, so it's kind of pushing it with them anyway. I think they'll be okay, though. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on them. I give them a little bit of a sunburn. Over here, I have some lamb's ear that I actually am probably going to move because I think it's a little bit too moist in this area. I've got a clematis, and then I just planted some pansies and some creeping jenny up in this little window box that I popped over here. And this little garden is pretty shady, but the edge of it does get more sun. So I have a strawberry vanilla hydrangea. And then mostly I just have shrubs in here. So I've got a little arborvitae, a little boxwood. This is a dwarf rhododendron that I, again, pulled from the front a couple years ago. And it was looking super bare and terrible. I gave it a really good prune. And it has bounced back pretty nicely. And it's actually, I think, budded up to bloom this year. You can kind of see the little bloom buds on it. And then I just have a few other little hydrangeas up here. And we just have one more spot to look at. So let's go look at the hanging baskets and the raised bed. Okay, so lastly, I have this coat rack turned hanging basket planter thing. I showed this in a couple previous videos. We've had some terrible storms where the wind has gotten really bad and it has fallen over a couple of times. So I had to move it to the very corner of the raised bed and I zip tied it to one of the posts so it won't fall over anymore. But right now I only have 2 of the baskets planted and I just have one little thing in each one. So I've got a pansy in that one and then I have a sedum in this one. And eventually I think I'm going to put something trailing. So maybe I have a couple of dichondra silver falls that I started from seed. So I'll probably put that in one of the baskets. We'll see. And in the raised bed, I do have a few things. I've got some broccoli and some red lettuce. And I planted these a little while ago and they are kind of starting to grow now. And my insect hotel has been buzzing with activity. It's very exciting. I'm going to insert a little clip here that I had of before I painted this purple, but the bees are loving it. And the last thing I have planted here is Bachelors Buttons. So I've got a bunch of Bachelors Buttons planted here that I grew from seed. These are black Bachelors Buttons. I do have some blue ones as well. And I have some peas starting to grow up on my trellis here. And then I plan on putting a row of tomatoes back here eventually. And that is pretty much it for the backyard. There are so many things that are like about to bloom, you know. So I just cannot wait for May. I'm very excited. I would love to know what you all are planting in your gardens right now. Are you being risky like me and planting too early? Let me know in the comments. And thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. I hope you will like and subscribe if you are new here. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye!